I want to welcome everyone to another edition of Channel for the Soul Live. And the title of this episode was to be Remaining Calm in the Face of Adversity. And I want to talk to you about the nature of adversity on a soul level and what that can do to us on this plane of understanding. There are levels of, it's like the levels that many feel like they are participating in. It's a level of understanding. And many are hearing the voice of reason, okay? I don't think I want to be in that vision of adversity with my friends or family when I go to the other side, correct? I hear from the souls who I still deal with here. I still hear from their family members as well. I still hear, right? Those visions of soul are not just those who have passed, but those who I create within this moment. And when I do that, the guidance that was brought to me was remain calm. See what happens when you remain calm and others around you are storming around. I'm hearing visions for other souls who are in the vision of, I can't be calm anymore. Does that mean I take the abuse being lobbed my way? Do I sit back and watch a camera-shy soul say, I was that person? I used to hear from the souls of souls, right? How many people know what that is? Those highest visions of who they are on a soul level understanding. Now, I'm hearing from the guides from other dimensions. Now, many of you will understand the nature of childcare, goddess energy, visionaries. These are all discussion topics we will talk about at some point in time. But for those of you who understand that the vision is still under the umbrella of guidance, I would say, I have to get this off my chest. I will disconnect from any soul that claims they are of love, but decides that they are here to cause havoc. So, that's the nature of who I am. It's like I'm told who is here to cause havoc in my heart, right? It's in the mindset for the most part. And how do we deal with those visions of adversity? Does it mean that I'm in conflict with somebody, or does it mean that I'm just in a state of panic? Okay, there are different situations for different people, but I myself found myself in that vision this morning. It persisted throughout the day, off and on. And it's the nature of a character in my heart who I have to deal with. And when I say that, someone's going to start to understand that I have to place a boundary, right? There are no boundaries when it comes to the utmost benevolent of beings. However, when you're dealing with wisdom of love, you start to realize that your friends and family members that create havoc will start to drop off from you. How do you remain calm in a situation where someone's trying to get a reaction from you? How many people know those people that are egging people on in their minds in the moment? Do you look at people and claim they are loving you? Or do you look at people and hear their visions of hatred or their visions of anxiety or their visions of terror. I've dealt with all of them from various levels of understanding. So the adversity that I find myself in sometimes is one in which I try to remain as calm as possible. What I will not do is I will not continue to antagonize others. How many people do we know that come through in our perspective and say, let's antagonize the other races or the other, souls of perspective? I attract people who are honest enough with themselves to know they're not in the best place to be doing soul work. So this is not always about, the fun part of soul work, but it's about trying to help others who find themselves in that vision of I am completely overrun by others' visions of who I am. Sometimes I hear the vision of a troll. That's what I would call them, right? I would not call them that. That's the nature of many, right? We have those visions of those souls who are just there to poke fun at who I am, and that's okay. But when we get to the level of societal impact, that's when the hats and glasses are going to come off, because it's going to be a wild one for you. When you go to the level of soul level understanding, usually there is a level of respect and honor for those who made it to that level of understanding. That would be me and about 20 other people. There are more than that, they just don't know it. They're on their way, okay? Most people who go to the vision of soul will do so in the vision of religion or spiritual mindset. And then there are those who naturally embody their own soul. That's soul embodiment. But to go to the level of understanding of Christhood would be something completely different. Now, what does that have to do? In my vision, I have so many people who are threatened by the nature of their own faith that they can't handle the fact that others are rising in that wake of terror. I can handle my heart dealing with the vision of terrorist coming across the screen. If I need to learn from the soul of someone who is in that vision of, I'm going to test you to see how much terror I can lob at your heart, right? So there are those souls who come here to spread adversity and terror. And I would say, I'm not here to take on your vision. I don't deal with your hearts. I don't care about your visions for your souls. I could send you your blessings from other souls. People are thinking now they understand why Brenda is the one to bring through the future of certain ideas. You hear the visions of terror, and it can strike a chord with many. So, as I was saying, night and day between who she was last week and this week. I sometimes have to go to places in my mind where I remember the beauty of who I am versus the beauty that others lob onto me from their own visions. How many people understand that? How many people in this world are still operating under the idea that I have to look at someone else and project them as less than, in order for myself to feel better? Think carefully about your answers to these questions. Do I have to raise myself up in my mindset by putting other people down as less than I am? Now, in my mind, I may say, no, I don't do that at all. Think carefully about your thoughts. As a soul-to-soul communicator, would you want to hear the thoughts of yourself coming back to you? This is what scares a lot of people. It's not what we're going to be talking about. This is about let's help everybody. But this is the vision of where I go and why so many people say, I can't handle that thought. Because we know what kind of relationships we create, right? How many people are surrounding themselves with people who love them, but still have those visions of I'm angry and so I'm sending you a vision, of love. Thank you very much. That's the natural ability to say, thank you for showing me who you are in the moment. That's one of those guidance souls that I deal with, who in the moment will say, in this moment, when you're going through this kind of crisis, you say to yourself in your mind, thank you for showing me who you are in this moment. And it usually releases the bind between you and that other person. Because in essence, they are just guiding you to a vision of who they are. And it does not show you anything about who you are. You become that vision of mastery that others crave. Okay? I wish I could walk with my soul. When you start to go to the vision of all, you start to release the vision of channeling for the most part. So that's where normally my guide is telling me, channeling is a beautiful aspect. I get to have those higher visions outside of soul level understanding sometimes brought to me. It depends. My guide could lead me there no matter what anyways. That's the beauty of who I am. Because if I could reach it, what's to say that my own soul couldn't, right? That's the nature of who I am. My soul is tapped in. And now I want to honor your own visions of Jesus Christ Almighty. Amen. I've had to deal with that vision for so long now that it gets a little dry for me. Because in essence, I honor the vision of all, and that means I do honor the vision, but for me, I wish him well. Let's just say that vision. Okay, I wish you well. If there is a spiritual enlightenment soul on the line, I would say, let's rise to a higher level of understanding. That sends the message that there is a less than vision in our midst. It is nothing but your own soul's vision telling you that you are less than, right? Unless someone is, giving you that impression that you're less than, you would have to say, my frequency band is just different than yours. Now, we would say there are lower level visions that others hold for me. So I operate in the vision of being able to communicate. And so sometimes I'm just not on the same page with somebody, right? If we're not talking the same language, that's going to be an issue. And so that's where sometimes the conditioning of our minds might say, I need to make sure we're on the same page, or we're using the same terminology. Do we both have the same understanding about a certain word, first of all, so that we can come to an understanding that we're dealing with the same sort of information? So am I going to be here as I am, trying to convince those who are conditioned in the mindset of Jesus Christ Almighty, amen, that somehow their visions are less than? No, I'm not. What I will say is I'm all that and more, because I sit there and did the work that allowed me to sit there and, embody my own soul. I'm also a guide for many at some point. That's the beauty of it. I get to have my hat handed to me by those who say, I'm of faith, but I still want my soul. You don't get denied your soul just because you're envisioning a beautiful vision of Jesus or Christ or Buddha or whatever. You see, I could go to the, shaman vision of love as well, right? That lets you know why I don't always bring through those visions of angels or archangels, right? There are spiritual mindsets that have taken down those visions of archangels to a level that most people would not want to know about. It's not taking them down. It's an explanation of where they came from. Okay, and this is not where most people want to go. But it can cause adversity in the mindsets. So it's kind of like if you're in that realm of I'm open to other avenues of exploration. See, that's where I was. I didn't hold myself to one vision. That's why I'm able to do the vision of many. I mean, you could go with the popular, Jesus soul, and you'll start to speak like Jesus, right? You will start to bring forth those visions of prayers and outpouring of love from that vision. And in essence, my specialty is in getting us to the nitty-gritty of how do we actually get ourselves there, right? Or are we trying to reach that vision? That's usually those who are wanting to go to the heavenly realms, or they are, trying to embody that vision for themselves. And for me, I was just aiming for the highest vision of who I am here. I'm not worried about who I am here because I've seen myself in various visions in various realms. I'm good to go. I may have some conflict in certain realms, believe it or not, because I traverse the realms, but I always find my way home. I don't need a travel guide anymore. You see, that's the nature of what people are looking for. When they cross, they rest, they take off the conditioning. It's a denser vibration that we hold here, and we lighten ourselves up to more exploration and more, it's like ideas about how to be when we cross over to the next level of understanding. Okay. I don't hang out in the heavenly realms because that's not the place for me. But I do. That's how I get a lot of messages from certain places. But to be honest, my guidance for you is not from your family tree. They have visions of love for most people. Usually it's that vision of I've got to work shit out with somebody on the other side who's got an issue that they didn't take care of here, right? And at some point, you kind of say, I'm done. How many people have just said, I don't need to know that anymore? How many people wonder, how do I handle an issue with a family member who's crossed, but I don't need it anymore here? Like, I'm done, I'm good. Okay, that's what the souls will do. They will take that on and say, we're going to clear out your shit for you. right? That's what a lot of people will, they'll sit there and they'll go, oh, well, I'm going to ask, Jesus, or I'm going to ask an angel or whatnot. Your soul does a lot of those heavy lifting exercises for you. And basically, is like, yeah, you're not going to be bypassing any vision of soul. If you claim that you're of soul, you're going to be dealing with souls. Okay, you keep creating with them. That's why I can bring through the visions of those of us that are still here. It's why I can bring through future. It's why I can bring through the visions of, societal impact. Because this is who we are. We're all creating this vision together. So, the adversity that we're starting to see play out on the screen is not about a personality clash. It could just be a personality clash. But the key in any moment is if you can remain calm. That's a good place to start. If you find yourself in a business venture, you almost always have to be calm because it could mean losing your job, right? Or it could mean, now how many people then say, I get so angry in my work that then when I come home, I take it out on my family, or I take it out on, the animals, or whatever it is, right? We hold it in. So sometimes those of us who are here to express, right, that anger or that frustration will say, I just let loose on whoever. How many people actually do that, right? Or how many of us are in that mindset of, I was told that I needed to be calm and cool and collected. Now, in my mind, the majority of the people are still keeping themselves in relationships that have far outlasted. Okay, this is the nature of conditioning. Some of us are beautiful. A lot of us are beautiful in that idea of we make it through thick and thin. Bullshit. You're suffering for no reason. There's a lot of people who suffer through things and stay in those visions of hell. Because that's what the vision of it is. What are you creating with the people in your life? Literally, that is your vision that you will confront when you go over to the other side. Are you seriously in that mode of creating hell in other people's mindsets? Right? Think about what it is. Am I able to hold myself tall, say I am loved, I am honored by the people around me? Or do I continue to put myself in relationships where I get walked on, talked about behind my back, right? We can't help people that talk behind our backs. But this is the nature of our hearts, right? Same thing goes for family. Do you have to sit there and make amends to family trees that hurt you? No, you won't vibrate in them anymore. You'll have a different understanding when you cross, right? Come to peace in your heart. Set them free. Set them free. That's what I do. I say the souls will carry their visions. I will deal with them in the way that I can when I cross to the other side. But in essence, it's more about releasing our own hearts from this vision of I've got to suffer through relationships that don't serve me well. How do you know when you need to leave a family tree member behind? You'll start to hear the visions of hatred from their vision of light. That's someone else's. So people are going to say, this is not right. How many people know how many generations I know in my life? Do you think I would honestly think that the highest level of their souls are going to come through with hatred? No. But what it is an honoring of those souls that I'm creating with here. Right? How many souls did I create with here? And how many of them did I create havoc with? how much of it was my fault versus me sitting there taking their bullshit? Right? How much of it was me remaining calm in the moment, honoring their vision of who they are, and then saying, I'm good without that kind of relationship in my life? What do they bring me other than a vision of destruction for my own mental peace, prosperity, health, and love? That's the vision that a lot of people should be aiming for at this moment. Peace, prosperity, health, and love. Whatever order, you want. And what does that mean for you? It means that in essence, we have decided on this planet to forego our own mental mindsets for the sake of someone else's vision of what they felt was best for us here, without the understanding that the suffering and abuse of women would be far and above, more so than what it was before, right? No, it's not about that. But in essence, how many women are going to stand up and say, I am not allowed to leave a relationship based on the fact that this book tells me that I cannot do so, or there's hell to pay? Really, we're past that vision of victimhood. I'm not going to keep myself in the vision of victim. I'm going to honor the strong female embodied version of who I am. I'm going to remain calm, and I'm going to say it's time for me to pack my bags and to leave. I'm not going to take this idea of having to sit there and stay in relationships where I'm not being respected. I don't have to lash out at them, but I can say very calmly, you no longer belong in my heart, right? It's in my mind, but no, you don't belong in my heart anymore. How many people don't want to be told that their own visions are what's holding them back? We're in this, it's like the knowing of enlightenment is coming through. And that's where we take off the conditioning of religion that says that I have to stay in a relationship. And this is not me personally, but I see it all around me. And others would say, oh, we made it through that tough time. Beautiful. Beautiful. So you had conflict. That's different. Okay? Having a conflict is not the same thing as I am being thrown under the bus time and time again. Okay? That's where some people are. And we know that. Okay? Adversity could also mean a larger group of people. And this could then, go into that vision of, as a group, are we remaining calm when we, come to a decision-making process? So if I have to make a decision about leaving, let me try to remove myself from the situation long enough to have a clear head without the emotions attached to it. Let me try to remain, as objective as possible. Why am I leaving? Or why am I staying? And if it's not a leaving or staying, it could just be we've got an issue that we need to work out. And I'm trying to remain calm. Because anger ignites. And for some people, that actually releases that vision. Serotonin gets, thrown out into the world like nobody's business. Okay? And it's not saying anything or anyone is bad. We don't go to that vision. But this is about the nature of souls. So different souls are going to hear different visions depending on the situations that they would find themselves in. And that's where you can always come, set up a session, go to my website, brendagervais.com, and then you'll get very specific information. Now, some people say this is not about saying you cannot have anger, or have your emotions. It's not about that. But too many people are being literally constantly battered in their hearts because they will not make the move to change the situation. But it's still about remaining calm. Calm heads can usually come together and be more in that vision of, okay, let's talk about what's going on and let's see if we can come to a peaceful solution or at least an understanding. And it might be as simple as we're just going to have to agree to disagree. And if we're in a relationship that, is of a partnership or, whatnot, we would say, let's honor the love that we have for each other. And let's just say, we need to, take some time. In other visions, we have to acknowledge maybe it's time we go our separate ways. I had to do this, not because of anger or anything like that. Okay? But sometimes those relationships are meant to change. Are you guys even friends anymore? How many people start to say, I'm with my best friend? Those are those souls that know the difference, right? My vision for me is I have a friendship with my best friend. I no longer have a marriage with my best friend. Okay? But I have a field of friends that I call on. Okay? And I'll get a little personal with sometimes because I want people to understand it's not just me preaching without explaining to people those visions. It's not just my vision. I'm not trying to tell people you need to do what I'm doing because I definitely know that that's not the case for the majority of people. How many people feel like their spouse is their best friend? If they are, then honor it as such. Would you treat your best friend the way that you're treating your loved one? That's your golden ticket. Would I treat my friend this way? Do I treat my friends this way? Okay. If you are having issues with friends who are treating you badly, it's time to, send them packing, right? They're not in your house, are they? Some relationships we have to keep in our hearts because in essence, it could be the fact that, like for instance, I will again open up. If I'm having a struggle with, the teen years, okay? How many parents know that vision of adversity? That's where that remaining calm can really come in handy. I also say extra coffee. That's my vision. Okay, if I'm tired, then that's just going to amplify that vision for anybody, Others will say, let's have a glass of wine at the end of the day. I'm not going to advocate for any, destructive behavior of addiction. If you're in that vision of it, do not take that as a sign of let's go get hammered. Okay, we have those moments sometimes. But in essence, I just want to say, this is the kind of stuff people will say. They'll go, this isn't the highest vibration because you're in the mindset of an INFJ. I'm going to talk about that vision. I literally go toe to toe with souls who try to take me down in the mindset because I'm dealing with their loved ones on this plane. That's the nature of telepathic communication as well. It's the soul. My soul, when I go to the vision of my soul, they give me what I need to know. And that's why we want people to really think about that vision. You have to be very strong with who you are. And like I said, I know 2 people at least that are already on that path. Now, some will say, oh, that must be me. It's not what you think. It's not just pumping up your ego, because you would have to think, could I handle what everyone was saying about me and not be affected? I even struggle with it when I hear it. Okay? And we have to understand that sometimes you don't realize what you're creating. What you're putting out can come back to you. Okay, some people are in denial about their thoughts. Some people are in denial about their hearts. Your soul will always love you. Your soul will always guide you. I get loving messages, and then sometimes they give me those visions of those that I'm creating with. I created another vision of havoc for someone that I know. Unknowingly, in essence, it was like, and so it wasn't like it was intended, but I have to then also raise up to this other level of where am I creating from? And sometimes, and I'm going to also say this for those of you who identify more in that vision of I'm taking on other people's stuff, get clear before you go onto a camera. So some people say you need to get clear about what adversity this is. So what are we talking about when we say remain calm? If I lash out at my family members, do they ever come back in their hearts and say, I'm sorry? I know I had thoughts about you that were not pleasant. I do not get everyone's thoughts brought back to me. So don't worry. I'm okay with what happens. When people hear that vision of INFJ, they start to wonder, well, she must be using someone else's system. It is my own vision for who I am. It is the strength of the psychology that literally lets me unwind a lot of the stuff that I go through. That's usually what I use it for. It's my strength as well. It's a strength of being able to look at a situation, honor it, usually say that's somebody else's vision. They're beautiful for who they are from a personality or from a mental mindset. Okay? A lot of people look at other people and pass judgment on them because they aren't doing the same thing in the same way that they would, not realizing that their brain is actually wired in a different way and they're doing exactly what they would be doing in that way. I already know people who say, I've been down that route. I don't want to go down the route of psychology. I want the spiritual enlightenment. What do you think happens with your soul when you walk with your soul? It's not just about altered states of consciousness. You get wisdom, guidance, love. And that's what a lot of it is trying to help us to a higher level of understanding. So if you're already happy, that's a beautiful thing. If you just have issues every once in a while, don't worry about it. If you just have issues every once in a while in your mind where it's like, yeah, I have these thoughts every once in a while. I hear about people who are on the edge. I hear about people who are in the mindset of depression, suicide, murders, terrorists, past, present. Okay. So that's for me. I have to be strong. So that's that vision of all. I can do a mental loop through the personality traits. And in that moment, I basically honor the visions of all as well. I don't have to go to religion and say, well, they're of this faith and all of that, right? Because that's a vision of separation in essence in my mind only. I understand that those of faith are very much, in that vision of, connecting. But I go to one system, just one of mine that I honor. And I literally do a mental loop through all the 16 types. I know everyone fits into them in some way, shape, or another. And I can say they're beautiful for who they are. It doesn't mean I like their behavior or I agree with it or that I want to hang around them or that I want to, even remotely create with them. Okay? That's one aspect of how I got here. I did get my degree in psychology. I claim no mastery of it. Okay? What I claim mastery of is my soul. That's the vision that my soul has been planting in my mind for a while now, is you're mastering your own soul. And in doing that, that's what those levels of masters do. Okay, that's going to send a message to someone when they say, oh boy, we're talking about that kind of vision. That's the spiritual enlightenment vision. The enlightened masters. There are many masters on this plane of their own hearts. It takes an understanding and time to do this. Some people will have those visions of spiritual enlightenment that literally just drop in their lap. Okay. You will literally, the younger generations are going to start opening up more and more and faster than the older generations because of how little they have in that idea of I've got to pay attention to someone else's book to be the beautiful person that I am. It's not a degrading of that vision of wisdom. Have fun with your tools of love is the first bit of guidance. Now, see how this in itself could cause some adversity in the mindsets of some. If you're really in that vision of this is what lifts me up, that's the beauty of it. Okay? But a lot of those souls, others will say this is why we're struggling. We're not all believing the same thing. Right? Do you have the vision of slave driver in your mindset? If you are in the mindset that we all need to be thinking the same thing and doing the same thing, think carefully about what that says to other people. That's why for me, I honor anyone's vision of what they feel like is best for them, and I would know that I would be able to bring through their soul, which would guide them to, a better vision of what was best for them. And I want to say thank you again for that vision of love. Your soul is always going to rock. Now, I do want to talk to people a little bit about the vision of John Bon Jovi, who says this woman's soul is so struggled sometimes, but she always carries it through, and she always rises above the vision of victimhood. In essence, what I usually do is I imagine myself the brightest diamond ever. Literally, and it's not about a boundary, but it's about this translucent but yet mirror-like diamond. And when I hear those visions coming at me from somebody, I know that they then see that vision of themselves as that vision is being put into their hearts. And that's letting them know where they are. And that's then where I usually would say, thank you for showing me who you are. And now they get to see who they are. It's their vision, not mine. Now, as co-creators, because we're all creating this vision, I have to take into consideration that some people are going to say, that's a beautiful vision, but does it actually work? It works on a lot of people. For me, I have to deal on an internal level because I'm hearing the mindsets of others. Okay? I'm getting that information sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't even feel like it's coming from my own soul, and that's when it gets a little tricky. But that's my growth. And I have to go, remember, Brenda, you're with your soul, you're with your soul. But some of those things are not pleasant. I'm in the public eye. Okay, so I have to have that energy of letting others' visions just be for them, and that it doesn't reflect on me. You know, if they want to call me fat or ugly or loose or whatever. I mean, I've had people tell me all kinds of stuff, in essence, because of like a video of the ecstatic state that I released, not with them not even understanding. It has nothing to do with drugs or sex or anything. It's an altered state of consciousness. You can get to the state of grace. You can get to the state of bliss. You can get to the state of peace. You can get to all these different states of consciousness. And universal love is one of mine. It's not the easiest to reach when you are in this plane, hearing the visions of those around you. If they are in that vision of less than, and then trying to put themselves into a position of, I'm going to throw daggers at your heart. Now, luckily for me, I don't have that many relationships where people would do that. First of all, most would be scared to death if they actually thought that they did that to me. My vision is either contact me and we'll deal with it, or come and see me face to face and we'll see what that vision is. And you don't have to be afraid. See, because I understand people who are getting offended. I get it if people get offended by some of my videos. That's expected almost. Okay, how many people, have reactions when they watch other people's stuff? I even do that myself. Question. Feel free to question whatever, because my stuff isn't going to be for everybody. No one's stuff is going to be for everybody. Okay? That's why I always say, and I tell this to my friends, as always, if this doesn't resonate, let it go. Just let it go. It's not for you. It doesn't mean it's not right for anybody, right? And that's the thing. It's just like when we give advice to our friends or our loved ones, right? That's the same thing I do. I always do it, not when I go to soul level understanding with guidance on a soul session. That's a whole... They'll come through and they'll still say, you have free will always. But I'm telling you, you'll know it in your gut when you're getting that vision of, I'm handed, my hat at that point. Most people don't want to know what a soul session is at this point. They're more concerned about, am I going to be heard by her during a session if I have a reaction? No, you will not. I'm under the mode of guidance. So my soul will only give me what is needed. And it's not about my relationship with you unless you're coming to me about my relationship with you, right? Because I do work out my relationships under the mode of guidance sometimes, if the people are open to it, because that's our souls, coming together, creating the vision of division sometimes, okay? And that's usually where these guided sessions will kind of collide a little bit, or combine. Let's not say collide. The vision of division and the art of war. They're one and the same. It's like various degrees of that vision. Okay? So we're going to start to wind this down. And we want to honor all of those souls that were hoping they were going to hear from a celebrity star. You'll notice in the past, sometimes those celebrity readings come under the vision of guidance for the soul. John Bon Jovi is still in his heart with this woman, and he says she's going to rock it again in the next 2 to 3 years. You're not even going to know who this woman is because she's that strong. Which means don't worry about her. If the vision doesn't seem strong, wait until she gets a hold of souls that know the difference between soul level and goddess level. So there's those souls that are starting to create in the vision of I'm of the goddess. It's not any less than, okay? So I want to say thank you for your vision of love. And I want to honor your hearts, your souls, your minds. Take care of all in your heart for you, especially your heart and your minds. Your souls are rocking it with you. That's his vision. I'll stay for another 10 years if I have to get her up to another level of understanding where his soul also rises. It's like the rise and fall of society. We're not on that path. So for those of you that are fearing the destruction of the planet, we're not there. We still make the strides towards completion of green energy. And that vision is still strong. It is still going to be heavily guided about how we can move forward without destroying the planet in the process of going green as well. Those visions of green planet are very beautiful. However, we will not take those souls that say that we're on a collision course, and we will not reinforce that vision ever again. It is not for us to start declaring war on the planet before the technology and science is there to get us off of it, if that's what they are creating. This is that vision of universal wisdom that says it's the wheel of creation is going to come through. The honoring of those who feel like the destruction of the planet is imminent, we would say, please take a deep breath. Remain calm in the face of adversity. This is not about cancel culture. That's going to be another vision of what we're going to work with in the vision of suicide, right? Not even close. Cancel culture is about, let me bring through the people that feel like they're being canceled, and whether or not they actually agree with the vision that my shit don't stink is what some people will say. Others will say that's who they think they are, that they can just declare others less than. Others will come through and say, my stuff is not for today's generations. Let's honor the vision of where they were when they were in that moment. These are moments in time. Okay, there are many souls who are afraid of change of any sort. Do we have to ban all the books? They are not all banned. The first 6 books of Dr. Seuss are being removed from the shelves of schools, in essence, because they did portray other cultures in a negative way. Had you been there, you would understand his mindset. Do you want to hear from the man himself or the vision of his soul? It's his soul, of course. He's no longer in that vision of hatred of other cultures. I had to make fun of them in my mind in order to get over the vision of hatred. I thought this was a little joke. But as I see the vision of hatred rise and fall in this country, it has never fell more so than when he realizes my own visions are what caused so much. It's like it's going to cause the falling of our energy, but then we lift ourselves up into that vision of, oh, okay. The man himself didn't even like his own vision, right? Okay, the soul of understanding would say his life was beautiful. We are not going to dishonor the man. Does he as a soul rise to another level of understanding? Had he been here in this moment, would he have agreed with that, vision of what his books were? His vision is, I did what I was told. I created the book because I was told that that's what was needed. The caricatures were mine. I used my mindset to come up with those funny little creatures, right? They're not all creatures. They're depictions of cultures. Okay? And so in essence, it's not about saying that they're bad, except for those who are being portrayed in a negative light. If you can handle your own religion or race being disparaged, then that's, maybe you have an argument against it. I can't say whether he would or would agree with that vision of cultures. Do we identify with our culture? What heritage am I from? Am I of a culture or am I from a race? The human race, right? That's one aspect of it. We're all humans. We all make mistakes. That's what he would say. His own family tree would say we have a part to play in that vision. All of us are in that vision of healing the racial disparities and biases that we hold in our hearts, right? It's in our minds, not in our hearts. People will know that vision of what it means to be in the hearts, and we've talked about it before. You'll get that vision of love handed to you at some point. Cancel culture is in essence a vision of this is not for me or us, right? I am not here to discuss cancel culture, but this will be brought through in another vision of guidance for the soul. So that was a little bit of vision about the future, right? We're going to get more visions of cancel culture. This can also be part of that vision of the cancers that we create in our hearts. So, anyways, thank you for watching. Hold on to your hats and glasses. When you hear John Bon Jovi sing his songs in the next 20 to 30 years, he's still planning on being around for that long in his own mind. He has a hard time with that vision of longevity, but it's still being planted for him by his soul. So thank you for watching. Honor our hearts, our souls, our minds, and have a beautiful evening. Good night.